What's up, Safehouse?
What's going on, Safehouse family? We're recovering from a blooper.
Right.
You're like, why did we come in like that?
Right.
Because we stumbled and bumbled all
The
over
first
that
time.
first
Right.
component.
So, here we are trying to get it right.
So, hey, this is imperfection perfected.
Exactly. Welcome back, guys.
Welcome back. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell.
Ring the bell.
So you can get notified of content when we publish it. We hope you've been enjoying Safehouse Conversations. We've had two installments of that. Taking a little break this week against it because we got a couple of questions offline about some of the topics. We wanted to break them down here. And it also, as we go through and we learn things, we get enlightenment and
absolutely.
Holy Spirit shows up and tells us a few things that we need to talk about. And, we pray that this is on the minds of the people as well, right?
Yeah.
So we believe this stuff is relevant. So we're going to talk about blending.
Yeah.
Blending, right? And when you think about blending, it's usually used in the context of two people coming together that have children from previous relationships, right? That's where we usually say blended family. A couple getting together, he has children from prior marriage or relationships, and now we have children together. I think we want to extend that definition a little bit because we believe there's a little bit of blending that goes on, even if it's not just children.
Right.
So, yeah, we're blending parents. We're blending siblings. We're blending friends. We're blending our whole atmosphere, our whole orbit, right? Our whole ecosystem. We're blending two ecosystems.
And what I think is really interesting about that is, we like to go to that scripture in Genesis where it says, therefore a man shall leave his father and his mother and hold fast to his wife, and they shall become one flesh. And so I think we, like you said, we are becoming one. Like I said, when you're in the relationship, but that one has the responsibility of growing. Yeah. And so even in that growing, you like you said, now we have children and we still have in-laws, we still have friends. And so what we're really doing is making a family unit.
We're building a complete family
like I said,
unit.
It's still me and you. And so, like you said, it's our responsibility to build our tribe, for lack of a better word. It's our responsibility to make sure we're building our family. So that was one of the questions that somebody had asked. They said, well, whose responsibility is it to make sure that everything is getting blended well? And so on the episode, Kia and Zai were saying how, I think Zai was saying that because his parents were married, that he felt like they had some responsibility because they should know what it's like to have to when you're trying to bring in your wife, that it should not have been that difficult for them because they should know better. Right. So he felt like they should have owned some of the responsibility of blending the family.
Yeah, and this is one of these messages that this is definitely an adult sort of message, right? Because in a lot of cases, and this is what you'll find in relationships, period. So this sort of concept, I think, will flow not just in this topic, but many topics. But, we as a society, we've been very conditioned to look for fairness, right? If this is who you are, then this is what you should be, right? If these are the circumstances, then your share is this and my share is that. I think we have to step back from that because the only thing that we can be is sort of righteously indignant because what do we have to lose by not blending our families? Yeah. And even if everybody isn't fulfilling their responsibilities by just taking a stand of because no one else is doing right, I'm not going to do right either. Then who stands to have the greatest loss? Our children, right? Because now they don't have the benefit of extended family. That nucleus, there's a reason we call it the nuclear family. The nucleus is the mom and dad of the two people that are coming together, and everything in that cell extends beyond that, right? I like that. The sort of nuclear family. There's power in the nuclear family, right? Because that is the beginning of what a network looks like. I mean, if you look at, not just biblically, if you look at just old America as we've developed, a lot of wealth, prestige approaches were built around family units, right? Yeah. Whether it's the Kennedys or the Rockefellers, right? These families built things around those things. And until we start to, because that's really what a village is about, right? Yeah. When we start to look at these things as, okay, wait, yeah, my parents, it is their responsibility to be the grown up, right? It is there. But I think we also have to be adult and recognize, you know what? That's supposed to be their responsibility, but maybe they don't know how.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's real.
Maybe they weren't trained how.
Yeah,
maybe their circumstances were different. Maybe, whatever the situation may be, I think we all have to look and say, well, who's going to be the playmaker, the change maker, the difference maker that says, for my family unit, how do I take what's right forward? You know, so, and it's not fair because that means you're going to take on a burden.
Yeah, that's true.
And that some people may not be receptive to. Yeah. I mean, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I know that's a little harsh, right? That's fire and brimstone. You need to just suck it up and put some dirt on it. No, we're not saying that.
I think it's true, though.
Yeah.
I think that's part of just the responsibility of becoming one.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's not the fire and brimstone. It's just the maturity of it.
Yeah.
It's like if we're growing, and like you said, I like that you call it the nuclear family and the nucleus, because that's what makes the whole cell work.
Yeah.
And so if something happens, if something happens to the nucleus, then everything begins to break down and it dies. And so that's definitely not God's desire for the family to die.
Right.
God wants the family, to flourish. And so the people who are responsible for bringing the family together, like you said, the major responsibility is on us.
Yeah,
to kind of make sure that it works. But I also think too that I think about so whenever our good friends, the Walkers, they live in Phoenix, Arizona. Well, not in Phoenix, but they live in Arizona. And so Tawana, she makes Derek this celery drink. Ugh. It's like gross. At least, Derek loves it. I don't know if he loves it. I won't even say he loves it. But she puts it in the blender. Okay. And so, like I said, he may not love it, but he still knows it's good for him.
Right. It keeps him healthy. Right.
So it keeps him healthy. It's giving him all these nutrients and all these different things. And so I think about that sometimes, like even with a family, like when you put stuff in a blender, you got to know what to even blend with it, because everything doesn't blend well. Yeah. So it doesn't mean like, we got to be, like super like this, but you still got to figure out, like if you're doing a smoothie, like, okay, well, maybe we can add some honey, or maybe we can add something else to at least make it palatable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, because once again, we still recognize that this is still something that we need. You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely. I completely see it. And, and once again, from a practical standpoint, you just never know what resources exist in your family. Right. You may have
that's true.
somebody with the greatest financial acumen. You may have somebody that has connections to certain industries. You may have, we all got folks in our family that, we're not the proudest of, but they're still our blood. Right. They always want to come to when they come to the family event, they want to hold something.
That is true.
Right. They got there. They may not have a way home. So we're going to pass the hat to get them.
That is true. That is the truth. That is true.
We all have those in our family. Right. But we also have people in our family that have absolute mastery over certain subject areas. Yeah. And once again, even if it doesn't benefit us, I know if in our family we have somebody that's a sound engineer, something like that, I want AJ to be able to access that.
Oh, yeah,
right?
That's good. Yeah, because you still got to blend it.
Yeah, you still got to blend
it.
Yeah, if we have somebody in our family that's, medical, then I'd want Hannah to have access to that. Or even still, as Hannah's becoming an adult, Hannah's our youngest daughter, who just is a nurse now. So we're very proud of her. She hates us telling everybody that, right?
So she's knows.
Yeah, now the whole world knows. But as she becomes older and more mature, there are going to be people in our family that look up to her. Well, Aunt Hannah did this, or Cousin Hannah did this. Or we even have family now that are in school that are like, oh man, Hannah finished, what did she go through? So, but once again, having that extended family benefit and keeping those connections together now creates a good unit for all of us to rise, right? It's a rising tide raises all ships, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the things about that episode too that really put me in a different space was, like I said, one of the things that that Zai said is, like you said, he felt like it was his parents' responsibility. And so I started to think about myself, like, okay, I'm hoping that, once AJ and Hannah bring home their person, their forever person.
That you don't reject them.
Right.
No, not in my house.
Right.
Do the
because
Matumbo.
if I'm honest, right, I have not always been the best. Like you said, we had talked about how, like when you get married, there's in-laws. Okay. So I have not always been the best representation of an in-law in terms of blending. I have not made myself open to accepting, who my brothers have brought along in the family. I'm just being honest.
Right.
It's taken me, some time to be like, okay, let me make myself available to these, to the sister-in-laws, but I haven't always been the best at it. So I'm hoping that I'm, that, like I said, hearing what Zaya and Kia said, that now, like I said, recognizing that I am going to be on the other side of that. And that I have to make sure that I'm open to making sure that, okay, that I want AJ and Hannah to have a good blending experience.
Right.
That I'm not the one that's putting up, bringing the drama to whatever is, to their relationships.
And it's hard because we have emotional and the one thing I say about my wife's family is they are loyal to each other.
We are.
They are loyal, right? It's
Very
like nobody
loyal.
breaks the Clark bond, right? And you fight one Clark, you fight them all.
You fighting everybody.
You fighting all generations.
Yes.
You heard back in the day, it's like we're gonna bring our whole generation.
We're loyal and territorial.
They're loyal and territorial.
Yeah, we are.
And they're big on sides, right? So when we get into a conflict, you got to pick a side.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And so it's one of these things where, if you're kind of an outside trying to penetrate that fortress, it can be kind of difficult. It can be a little bit intimidating at cases,
I agree,
right?
Yeah.
Hey, and my family, we're not as sort of territorial as that. I think we're a little bit more violent, a little bit more.
I would agree with that.
We
too.
like to humbug, right? We like violence and humbug, and we ghetto, country, all of that, right? So but in terms of, I think we accept just about anybody.
Right.
It's just like, oh yeah,
the Clark family, we don't. I'm not proud of saying that. But it's just the truth. We don't accept everybody. We're just like, nah.
So I'm going to ask you a soft spot here. So Dad's remarried, right? So
yes.
So what was that like in terms of blending?
That was hard for me because even though, legitimately, he could get remarried.
Yeah.
My mom had passed away. Well, not the second time he got married. My mom was
Don't hang all the business out there. Stop it. Okay.
Sorry. But this last time, I'll say it like this. It was hard for me to really kind of open myself up to I still kind of struggle with even just be like wanting to call her mom or, or whatever, because for some reason, it's just still very difficult for me to blend that. And I feel like when you blend it well, that's when you can say mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think that's just my own issue of still missing my own mom and those types of things like that. Because she's amazing. My dad's wife is amazing and I love her. But it took me a while to really get to the place where I was like open to it, because at first when they got together, I was territorial. I was like, listen, that's my dad, even though, like I said, I know better because I'm like, okay, this is still his wife. And like I said, I didn't present myself very well because once again, I'm territorial, and so I'm definitely better, but that's because I knew I had to grow.
Yeah.
And I know she's good for my dad, and I know my dad loves her and I see how much she loves my dad.
Yeah.
And so I had to get my whole life together. And for her part, she was really trying to make the whole blending thing work. I was the one that was like, I don't want to be in the blender. I don't want to be, don't put me in the mix.
Right.
As a matter of fact, I want to stay outside the mix.
Right.
And so now I'm happy to be in the mix because it just makes everything better.
It does. Yeah. It does. It does. And, it's, we all have to take inventory because, once again, sometimes it's us that's in the blender trying to blend with the family. And other times we're one of the people that's rejecting.
Yeah,
right?
that was me. That was definitely me.
We have to sort of take, and so in the whole context of blending strategy, right? Just looking at how we do it, and seeing that this is, because we've been married, 30 some years now, right? And so this is a blending issue that's happened within the last 10 years.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. So
it doesn't necessarily mean that because you're newlyweds, that there's not a blending consideration that you need to think about, right? And really say, okay, what struggles are we having at becoming a family unit?
Yeah.
Now, I'm not, and once again, you all know your family issues and things. I'm not saying we need to go and just smack all the families together. Now we have a big war and everybody kills each other. No.
Yeah. We know it's complicated.
We know it's complicated,
very
right?
Complicated.
There's many issues, many layers to the onion, right? But we also should examine, okay, are we doing things out of feelings, out of history, out of comfort, out of discomfort?
Yeah.
Doing things to sort of impede the blending of family, right? To become one family, because one thing that's true: if there's a new child, all they know is this is all my family, right?
Yeah.
So
that's
there
true.
has to be something about our history and our experience that says there's a difference, because you when a newborn baby comes along, all I know is grandma and grandpa and auntie and uncle and cousin and all these other folk, right?
Yeah.
And they all love me, so. Yeah. So there's those that are currently married. Then there's those that are on the path, right?
Yeah.
That are. And so what I'd implore you to do is really start to, and with your significant other, this forever person that you're exploring this with, whoever you're courting, start to talk about, man, what would it look like for us to blend our families, right? I got a cousin that likes to borrow money every time they show up at the event. Can you deal with him without? We know not to cuss him out. Can you not cuss him out?
Right.
Because it's the new guy that's going, new person that's going to come along.
Like that's your people. That's your cousin. I'm like, okay.
Right. And everybody know this person going to ask for money. The new person come cuss them out, and now the whole family want to jump on this individual. Right.
That is true. Yeah.
Or, another complicated situation, the cousin, brother, shows up with the new love, and y'all are still in love with the old love.
Right. Oh, yeah. I think we've had a few of those in our family. Like you said, you've seen all of that when you've been married for like 30 years.
Yeah.
Because like you said, the complications of having people be together for a long time and they're not married. And then, like you said, and we love that person. We've fallen in love with that person. Yeah. They've been a part of everything.
They go into girls' nights separate of the person.
Right. We love them. And then all of a sudden there's this breakup, but we still love that person, and we still invite them to events and things like that. And so, and I don't even think like when we're doing it that we care if it's awkward.
You don't, because you have, once again, in blending, now you have the person that's trying to create a new relationship.
Right.
And the family's creating this awkwardness. Right. By bringing this other person into the picture.
That is
true. And that can create all kinds of stuff, because the person could be like, why are you bringing this? I'm not. My family is acting out, and now it's creating a rift between the family and this new person before the relationship can even take root. It's like, while we was dating, all y'all did was bring that other girl around, so I don't like none of them. We ain't going to give, when we had kids, we ain't bringing them to see nobody.
I think that's why me and Andre still together. Early on in our marriage. See, me and his mom, we blended real good. I was like the daughter. She was like, yes, I love her. And so me and Andre would be like going back and forth. I'm like, okay, you keep playing if you want to. If we get a divorce, I'm getting your mama in the divorce. And she said, good. So I said, so when you bring your new person over, just know she's going to come and see me, your mama, and our 2 kids. I said, so as long as she okay with that, it's fine for me.
Hey, me and Helen can have a drink every now and then. We was drinking buddies, right? But Dad did not want things blended. He wanted a separation of church and state.
He did. But he came around. He came around eventually. But it was initially like separation of church and state.
It was separate but equal.
It was.
We don't serve your kind around here, right? You can go drink out the fountain over there. Get go on away from around here.
Right. It was. I wish.
Yeah.
I think I said that to a few sister-in-laws. Gone from around here.
Well, on behalf of the Allen family, I apologize for my wife's treatment.
I apologize too. Oh my God.
You all know who you are.
Yes, God forgive me.
But she loves you all now.
I do.
You are her sisters, brothers, all of that, right?
Yes.
So yeah, but the blending thing, I think until you call it out and give it language and understand the psychology behind it, then you can really start to deal with it. Because let's be real,
true.
Some of us are dealing with blending issues today, whether we're on the outside of being blended or we're part of the crew that's keeping something from being blended.
That's true. That's true. And I think, so one of the things that I thought about, like you said, with blending too, is there's some things that you gain and there's some things that you lose. Like you said, when you're blending cultures, you're blending families, you're doing all of that. And so sometimes I think we focus on, I know I did, I'll put it like that. I focused more on what I thought I was losing. Yeah.
Versus what
I could possibly gain. And I think when you focus more on what you can gain, it makes the blending better. I mean, I think even like you said, even when you're blending, like you said, even when you have families, like you said, that are coming together and they have children. So like I said, for us, we're always like, okay, your kids are our kids. We never really call them step kids or, whatever. We everybody's just a part of the family. And we've even gone to the point where it's like, okay, like you said, like with, people, like even if they weren't together, when we all get together, we're like, we don't mind that their parents come.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because once again, we're all family. And so we've just figured out a way to make that work.
Yeah.
Because once again, we understand it's important.
Yeah.
Just because I have, siblings, like who may not have the same, like I do have a brother who, his mom, that's not my mom, but I love his mom.
Yeah.
Why? She was a part of our lives.
Yeah.
And she's my, my brother's mom. And so, like I said, so if we're having something, she's always welcome to come. We would never say to her, well, no, you can't come.
Yeah. Well, so stepping back from all of it, there's another blending component, and that's friends, right? So you can have, we have friends that we're bringing together, right? And so I have my friends, you have your friends, and depending upon the situation, your friends could have an opinion about me before we get together.
That happens.
That happens, right?
Right.
Or we're getting together and we're trying to figure, everybody's fighting for each other's time. Your friends still want your time. My friends still want my time.
And that's a hard thing. Yeah.
And so then how do we now as a couple blend these two circles of friends together?
That is true.
So that now we're one big group of friends, right?
Because that I don't think people talk about that enough. Like I said, especially when you're dating too, because that happens. You know how like you have a friend and then all of a sudden they dating and then you don't ever see them no more.
You don't see them no more.
You're like, what? I thought we was best friends.
We was tight.
What happened?
Right.
But part of that is because you haven't figured out how to.
Y'all was doing the color purple.
Right, yeah, come on. Now you with somebody and now you don't know me, I'm like, but I think part of that is we don't know how to blend right. We're like, no, I'm just going to be with this person. And it's like, okay, well, we have to figure that part out too when we're dating and when we're courting and when we know that we're with our forever person. Because at some point you're going to go back to your friend and say, hey, can you be at my wedding?
Right.
And you hope that at that point your friend still want to be your friend since you didn't blow them off for a year because it's just been you and your boo.
Right. I done blew you off for 3 years, but now I want you to spend like $500 on a dress and buy me a gift. And
it's not going to work.
You got to continue to invest somehow, right?
Girl,
so we got to
talk to me.
We got to figure out how to blend these worlds.
Yeah, you do. That's important.
So one of the topics in the conversations that Kia brought up was the issue of safety. And I'd like us just to take a few moments to sort of explore what it's like to be on the side where we may be part of the group that may be making someone else feel unsafe.
Yeah.
She really, really expressed a lot of hurt because it's like, okay, she felt like, man, if you don't create an environment where I feel safe, then it's going to encourage me to close off.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that?
I was going to say, I know some couples like that.
Yeah.
Where one spouse doesn't feel safe.
Yeah.
That the family has created these spaces where they I don't want to say rejected, but they definitely don't feel comfortable coming into those spaces. And so I think those are those moments where we have to be honest with ourselves. Like I said, I had to be honest with myself, to say, okay, I'm not even creating a safe space. As a matter of fact, I was almost creating a volatile space.
A hostile space. Yeah.
And so, like you said, but it takes you wanting to be honest. And like you said, and really realizing that, like you said, that's the gain. But that takes maturity too, because it can't always be about me. You know what I mean? Because that's what I was really making it about. I was making it about me and my own feelings and how I felt about it, as opposed to, okay, how do we make our family work?
Right. How do we make your family, their situation work, right?
Absolutely.
How do I be a champion for what they have going on?
Because I wanted my dad to be happy. You know, and so I had to figure out, okay, how do I do that? And I couldn't just say I want to make my dad happy by excluding her.
Right.
Yeah.
But you have some families like that. We'll say things like blood is thicker than mud.
Yeah.
But the whole idea of us leaving and cleaving is that we create new blood together.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
That's good. That is a new creature. That's something that never existed before when we come together. So once again, when it comes to that sort of family dynamic and some of the toxicity, that fake loyalty, because I use the word because there's good loyalty, right? But then there's false loyalty that become toxic.
Yeah, that's true.
And that type of toxic loyalty tends to drive wedges into what could be fruitful and productive relationships.
And it shows up later, because at some point, anything that's false and that's not authentic and genuine, it comes to the surface.
It does.
It shows up. And normally when it shows up in such a negative and almost destructive way that, it makes it difficult. It can create even problems for us.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that.
Yeah.
It creates the problems for the people who were supposed to be trying to make it one.
Well, many layers to the onion. I'm part of a prayer line, and one of the things we talk about on this, we're in this series now about why do you need to defend yourself? Well, think about it. If I'm in a relationship and I feel like the person that I'm with never defends me or never stands up, then I feel defenseless, right? And actually what it may do is put me on the offensive, because now I feel like I have to defend me. I'm the only one that's in my corner. Not even this person that says that loves me is in my corner against their family. So now I have to be the offensive one. I have to go on the attack in order to establish myself. And so it can create many layers of dysfunction.
Many, absolutely. Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was going to say, I think that's the, like you said, when you blend it well, that's why when people break up or when people get divorced, that's what makes it so hard.
Yeah.
Because like you said, we did it well and now we broke, we've knitted it together and it's like there's this tear.
Yeah.
And so now we're trying to figure out like, okay, because see, sometimes I think when that tear happens, we think it just happens to the couple, but it really happens to
the family. It happens to everybody
that's involved.
Yeah.
And they just, then they just want us to get over it. Be like, okay, well, we're not with them no more. And so you should be okay. But it's like, no, I'm just as torn.
Yeah. Well, here's where it gets even weirder, right? There's an amicable tear, right?
Yeah.
And nobody hates each other, right? And so now new partner, spouse, forever person enters into the picture, and X is part of the equation, right?
Yeah.
Which creates awkwardness, discomfort, whatever, right? And so once again, we have to step back because that is a blending, especially if there are children involved, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so how do we now blend that situation while having respectable boundaries, obviously, but also not becoming defensive and or offensive and or territorial, right? Because now we have to deal with some of our own issues about, what belongs to us and our own, what we call jealousy, right? It's like, I feel like something that belongs to me is being taken away. Yeah. That's what jealousy is.
Yeah.
And so,
but that's part of that strategy of being able to take inventory of yourself.
Yeah.
Because like you said, no matter what kind of family you in, it's blending.
Yeah.
Like I said, regardless of whether you got kids, whatever, there's still this element of blending. And I think that's the point we really just wanted to bring out today, is that there's always going to be an element of blending, and you need a strategy. So even if the blending doesn't work on the front end, you still have to be able to figure out, okay, like I said, how, don't force the blend,
right?
But how do we, patiently wait so the blending can happen, especially if that's the goal.
Yeah, I would rise up even a level from that. And this is going to be the homework before we get into the next portion of the series, which will come in a couple of weeks. So we'll have that out pretty soon. But in the meanwhile, think about, are we blending well?
Yeah.
Have we thought about what it means to blend? Can we look back at our situation and say, wow, maybe this complication is a result of us not blending appropriately, right? Maybe we didn't look at this correctly, right? Maybe I had an issue that prevented us from blending. Maybe it caused me to look at the situation through a lens that I shouldn't, therefore we couldn't blend. Or maybe, somebody's family has poor, understanding of this, right? And here's what's good about this and us. Now that we have an understanding and we can do better, we can now be the champions of what it feels.
I like that, like the ambassadors.
We can be the ambassadors of what it's like to blend well, and understanding. Since everybody's not going to be in the Safehouse meeting, they're not going to have this understanding. So you may have a new set of enlightenment that you walk into your situation with that now you have to process through.
Yeah.
And instead of saying what's wrong with you, now you can say what happened to you, and now how can we look at this and really understand the goal of us blending together and becoming a family unit. We want it to be like the Bible. We want these to be houses.
Yeah,
right?
we do.
We want these to be houses established for generations. And so that's going to require appropriate blending.
Yeah, it is.
All right.
Pretty good.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
So remember, you all, like the video, share, subscribe, ring the bell. We will be coming back to you with our final installment of Safehouse Conversations. We hope you enjoyed this discussion on blending. If you really enjoyed it, leave a comment below, or do like you all have always done.
Right.
Reach out to my wife offline and independently. We know you don't want to be hanging your business out.
Even though we hang ours out all the time.
And we have a multi-generational audience, and some of you do not have YouTube accounts. But in order to participate in the discourse, you have to sign up for a YouTube account. YouTube is a social media account. I know it's where we get a lot of videos on our learning, but if you want to participate, you got to sign up for a YouTube account and get an email address and a name and everything. You're able to comment and participate in the community.
Yes. Guys, we love you.
We love you so much. And with that, we are saying peace.